Hi guys, I'm Marticore, and would you please stop reinstalling your game when there's an issue? I'll tell you why, and this is gonna be long, but I will go through a few common issues that you may have with the game that don't require reinstalling the entire thing. Actually, barely anything requires that. I just want to put it out there so you can save your time. This is a matter of what is actually broken or which game directory has the broken part in it. And usually it's the documents folder. And the documents folder stays untouched when you reinstall the game or uninstall it. Like you uninstall The Sims 2, but the documents folder is still there. The Sims 2 folder is still on your computer, even though the game is not. Unless you have the game on discs and there is a little pop-up asking you if you want to delete save files. But if you have the Ultimate Collection on EA app, I'm not sure how it works with like old games download or whatever, but by default, the documents folder has nothing to do with reinstalling or uninstalling the game. And more often than not, any problem that you may have with your game doesn't have much to do with the installation directory. Most of the time, reinstalling the game will not do anything. The only thing that it will do is that you will have to reapply all the fixes, like for Gigabyte patch, like the resolution. If you have custom lighting or a custom UI, you will have to install it all over again, and that's a lot of work. So the first and most basic thing is the game not launching at all. I get that the first instinct might be to just install it all over again because it's just not working, right? But no, this is usually a matter of cache files. It's simple as that. Just delete groups cache from your Documents, EA Games, The Sims 2 folder, and you're good to go. If you have been doing stuff in Body Shop, then you will also have this Cygen, if that's how it's pronounced. This CIGEN file. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it's definitely connected to the Body Shop somehow. So if your Body Shop is not launching or your game is not launching, you can delete that file too. Also, you can delete the accessory cache file, but groups is usually the one that gets clogged up a lot. These days, I have to delete cache files so often that recently I changed the name of The Sims 2 on my desktop, like the shortcut to it, to cache first, because like every other time I try to launch the game, it just won't open because of cache. And there is a way to have it deleted every time you either try to launch the game or when you close the game, I'm not sure, but RPC does that for you. This is a custom launcher for your game that Lazy Duchess made, and it already has a few fixes in it. It may also help you with the game crashing a lot. Actually, it does just the opposite for me. It crashes a lot more often, so I don't use it. But a lot of people do, and a lot of people love it. Wait, I don't follow Lazy Duchess? That's not right. Anyway, one super useful thing that it does is actually deleting cache files regularly so that every time you launch the game it actually opens. There's also RPC lib that is not a launcher, it's more like a file that you put in your game installation directory, but this doesn't have the cache deleting function. So if it's ever added, I will definitely use this. So yeah, if you were playing the game last night and it was perfect, and then the next day you want to launch the game and it just won't open, then this is basically what you have to do. Just delete one file. So this is like the most basic thing. So if you have any other issues, this might be a mod conflict or something really weird going on in your neighborhood, what you can do to check if this is actually a documents folder issue is basically changing your original folder's name to anything. You can type like an X before it or whatever. just so that it has a different name than originally. Then you launch the game and a new folder pops up right away when you open it. If there is a way to check for you if the issue is still happening, maybe you have like an error popping up all the time. So you can just go into a random neighborhood, into a random family and see if this problem is still there. If it's not, then something is wrong in your documents folder. The Sims 2 documents folder, not general documents folder. You may have various things in that folder, but like the documents Sims 2 directory. So you can just safely check it this way and then go back to your original folder by deleting this one and changing the name back to normal. So you just delete the folder and then change it back, and now it works perfectly. It's again your original folder. So another thing is mod conflicts. So I have a special folder for Sims software, and there are 2 programs that you can use to detect if something is a mod issue, if you have any conflicts between mods, like 2 mods that edit the same thing, or duplicates of mods, anything like that. So the first is what caused this. So this will help you if you have some kind of error popping up, you have testing cheats on and there's an error happening and you have it in your logs, then, oh yeah, this needs an update. Anyway, I don't really use it that often. So you can open any log, like the newest one or whatever, and also show the program where your downloads folder is. Just show it the directory and go. I don't think this will actually show any mods because this is not this kind of error, and I don't really have that many conflicts in my game anymore, but yeah, this basically looks into the log, which functions the log refers to, and searches for files in your downloads folder that might be connected to it. So the suspected mods that might have caused this. There's nothing here, but in many cases it might actually show you some kind of oh, this error has been caused by shift clicking and force error when I was trying to reset someone. Also, it tells you when this is a smarter EP check issue, more like lack of smarter EP check issue. Because a lot of mods, some mods, I guess, require this tiny file by Syjon's mods as well, definitely, called Smarter EP Check. So if you have an issue with the jump bug, so you try to do something with the sim, but they constantly just reset and do like little pirouettes all the time, and if you have testing cheats on, because that's the only time when errors will actually pop up in your game, it will say bad gossip tree number. This means that you have a mod that requires Smarter EP Check, which is basically a file that helps the game find certain functions from certain expansion packs. So yeah, mod conflicts are also a pretty common thing. Like you download a mod 4 years ago and then another one yesterday, and you don't even realize that they are similar in a way. When one mod edits the same part of the game as another mod, they are in conflict. Sometimes it's a loading issue, like one of the mods has to load later than the other one, and this way you can actually make them work together. And there's another software that helps with that, which is the HCDU. This shows conflicts. Good, this is getting updated, I'm glad. So I can just scan my downloads folder, basically. You can also scan like a certain subfolder that you have in your game, like the mods subfolder, for example. So I can do it like this, and now it's only mods. Not custom content, not anything like that. Just mods that actually modify the game. So technically, for example, Inseminator and SimBlender, I don't really use SimBlender that much, but I just have it like just in case. They edit the same things, but they can work together. They are just different versions of the same thing, basically. And SimBlender and SimManipulator is the same thing. Like these are the 3 mods that you can play God with, basically, you know, like you can do whatever with them. The left side is one mod that edits a particular thing, and the right side is another mod that edits something similar. So they could be in conflict, but often it's just that they are very similar to one another, and it also shows you which one loads earlier and which one loads later. In case you're not sure how to change the name of that mod so that it loads faster or not, this shows you exactly how it works. So this is really nice because it's not obvious. So the next thing is the game crashing. Well, first of all, crashing for The Sims 2 on new systems is pretty common. You have to just be used to some amount of crashing. Like, if it crashes every 10 minutes, something is definitely wrong. If it crashes when you're doing a certain thing, it's definitely a problem. But if it crashes after you've been in game for 6 hours and this is the only time that day that it crashed, that's pretty normal. I feel like my game doesn't crash pretty much at all. But if I've had it open for a few hours, it might. So sometimes if I'm having a longer session of playing and I go on a break, like I go make some food or something, I will quit the game and then load it again, just to be safe that it doesn't suddenly crash when I'm doing something important. But well, I'm kind of privileged because my game loads up really fast because my downloads folder isn't huge, even though I feel like my game is heavily modded. And also I have it on an SSD drive, so it's really fine when it comes to the time of loading. Like, the main menu probably loads for like 20 seconds or something. So, just have it in mind that if you have the game open for a few hours, it might crash suddenly. And if you have the time to wait for it to load, if it loads really long, consider it. Another issue with crashing is the lack of 4 GB patch. So you might just get RPC and that might help, but might not. Always when I see someone having an issue with the game crashing or lagging or any kind of performance issues, I always ask if they applied the 4 GB patch. This is really important. It's just a little tiny program you download. You just launch the program, show it where your installation directory is of the game, and it just does everything for you. You don't have to do anything. You just click on things. And it takes literally like a minute to do it. So the deal with 4 GB patch is that normally the game only uses 2 GB of RAM, and you definitely have more in your computer if it's not from like 2007, right? So this helps with performance very much because it kind of forces the game to use more memory. It's also like if it says it uses 2, it actually uses 1, and if it says it uses 4, it actually uses 2 or something. I don't know. It just helps. Okay? It's a mandatory thing to do with The Sims 2 these days on new systems. Like, if you don't have 4 GB patch, then what are you doing? So this can help tremendously with regular crashing, like if your game crashes after 15 minutes or something, do this. So the game might also crash when you're doing a particular thing. There's a very known issue with store content. If you've downloaded store content, which is Max's content, so I recommend, it's not really like mods or anything. It is strictly Max's. It's just like pre-order stuff, store items that could be bought back in the day. You can get them for free now, just from like a Tumblr. It's super cool stuff to have in your game. Actually, I'm seeing that. I don't think I have this. I think I need to download this. But anyway, there is one chair that might cause crashing in your game when you go to the comfort section in buy mode, and it's the nominal chair. So if you have this issue, you can just delete the chair from your folder. But also it might have something to do with your game being from old games download and not having the IKEA stuff. Like if you get the game from that source, you need to fix the IKEA stuff, which, like, if you don't have IKEA stuff, what are you doing? It's a very, very needed stuff pack, okay? Sorry, Mac users. But it's not really that obvious. Sometimes someone has working IKEA and the chair still crashes their game. It works perfectly fine for me. It's a really nice chair. I even have recolors for it. I use it all the freaking time, but apparently it just crashes the game for a lot of people. Okay, the main menu probably takes about 45 seconds to load, but it's still not that long. It's exactly this chair. So in The folders, it's also called a nominal. Like if you type in nominal in the search bar, you will get it and you can just delete it. If you fix IKEA and it still doesn't work, just delete the chair. I think you can live without it, especially if your game is not working with it. And there's also another thing that sometimes you try to load a lot and it just won't open, and the game will just crash when you try to enter a family. And this might have something to do with 4 GB patch, so if you haven't done that, try first. But very often this might be an issue with the particular lot. Sometimes lots break for some reason. I don't know how it happens, but it just sometimes happens that there is a glitch somewhere and you just can't load the lot. So then you can just move out the family. You can try to move them into the same lot, but it probably won't work. It's probably broken forever. So in this case, I think it's better to move a family to a different house than stop playing that neighborhood completely. Unfortunately, this is something that sometimes happens. And also, if there is something wrong in your neighborhood, like Sims disappeared or the game didn't save fully, like you saved at a certain moment and then you go back to that family and you see that certain things stayed as if you didn't save them. Like Sims have memories of getting married, but they're not actually married in their contacts or something like that. Like there are some inconsistencies, or stuff disappeared, a lot disappeared, a sim disappeared. Something is definitely not right in the neighborhood or something is missing, then it's probably an issue with OneDrive. New Windows systems have the curse of OneDrive. I disabled OneDrive. I uninstalled OneDrive completely the first thing that I installed Windows 11. That was the first thing I did. No, sorry. The first thing I did was changing my documents directory from the default C drive to G drive, because I always do that. I've been doing that for years. So for me, the installation directory and the documents directory are like on the same drive, but in different places. You can do that. It's very simple. All you have to do is go to Documents, Properties. I'm not sure how that is in English, like localization or something like that, where the folder is basically. And you just change the letter here. If you have a different drive, like a D drive or anything, like anything else than C, you can just change the letter, apply, okay, and your documents are completely changed. So if you know that you will have a pretty big documents folder because of the Sims, because you have a few Sims games and there are saves there and everything, and you don't want to clog up the system drive with that stuff, you can just change the directory of your documents. It's super simple to do. So OneDrive. OneDrive will, by default, get your documents into OneDrive. And OneDrive also has like a, I mean, I've never used it really, so it has some kind of like a file sync thing happening, because it's technically a cloud, so it just tries to like sort files and everything, and it might delete stuff from your game if you have documents on OneDrive. You can disable OneDrive, you can uninstall OneDrive. Best would be to do it right away after you have your system installed. And also you can move your documents to a different directory. I will link a tutorial for it because I am not really savvy with OneDrive. As I said, I never really used it, but I know that it can cause a lot of issues with the game. It's a pretty useful tool at work, for example, when you have a few computers in like a business space and you just want to share files back and forth. It's probably super useful for that, but in a home computer, not really that much. Like there are a lot of different clouds that you can use. And the file syncing thing can actually make your game sync, but with a K, an I. Sink into the abyss. People talk about it everywhere, that if you have OneDrive, don't have your game files on OneDrive because it will break your saves. Okay, I think that is everything. If there's another issue that I can think of, we can talk about it in the comments. If something is broken in the game, first look into the documents folder. Your mods, your saves, your neighborhoods, OneDrive, cache files, all that stuff. Save your time. And as always, Thank you very much for watching the video, and see you in the next one. Bye.